Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with Monday Night Raw, presented live last night on the USA Network from the TD Garden in Boston. In the final segment of the show, Jey Uso turned on Sami Zayn, declaring his continued alliance to the Bloodline, joining his brother Jimmy and Solo Sikoa in a beating of Zayn that continued until Cody Rhodes hit the ring to make the save and end the show.
I thought I was going to choose your ass! Oh! It's family! It's family, boy! I thought I was going to choose you! Oh! Get your ass over here!
The brawl occurred moments after Zayn had just pinned Jimmy Uso with a sunset flip in the main event of the evening. During a vignette earlier in the show, Zayn had tried to convince Kevin Owens they should join forces in their fight against the Bloodline, but Owens chose to fight alone. Zayn had saved Owens from a Bloodline beating during the opening segment of the show, but Owens still refused his handshake. Owens had already defeated Solo Sikoa in the opening match of the show when Sikoa was disqualified thanks to outside interference from Jimmy Uso. John Cena made his first WWE appearance of the year during the show, in which he was confronted by United States Champion Austin Theory, and after some convincing in an extended back-and-forth segment, agreed to face Theory for the title at WrestleMania.
But you really left me no choice because you brought them into it. And now I gotta ask them to see what we're gonna do. Boston, do you want to see Austin Theory versus John Cena at WrestleMania? Dude, I may not care about you, but I'll never give up on them. Remember this moment. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. At WrestleMania for the United States Championship, it's going to be Austin Theory versus John Cena!
Cena previously won the U.S. title back at WrestleMania 20 from The Big Show, marking his first title win with the company. In other WrestleMania developments on the show, Seth Rollins and Logan Paul met face-to-face in an interview segment with The Miz and addressed the possibility of a match between them next month in Los Angeles. The segment ended with Paul laying Rollins out in the ring. Also, Trish Stratus and the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Lita and Becky Lynch expressed their interest in facing Damage Control in a 6-woman match at WrestleMania. Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair was saved by her WrestleMania challenger Asuka from a double-team beating at the hands of Carmella and Chelsea Green, which occurred after Bianca had defeated Carmella in a non-title match. In other results, Johnny Gargano pinned Finn Balor following outside interference from Edge. Omos got a quick win over Dolph Ziggler. Chad Gable beat Baron Corbin by submission, and Piper Niven pinned Nikki Cross. WWE Executive Chairman Vince McMahon was reported to be backstage at the show, his first time attending a WWE event since his initial resignation from the company last July. According to PW Insider and other sources, McMahon was not involved in the production of the show and was primarily there to visit with John Cena. The show was believed to be a complete sellout, as WrestleTix reported 13,072 tickets distributed and only 71 remaining by early Wednesday afternoon, with the last available seats predicted to have been sold by Showtime. In ratings news, last Friday night's SmackDown Live on Fox drew an audience of 2.451 million viewers according to WrestleNomics. That total is up slightly from the previous week's audience of 2.408 million. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.59, which was down from the previous week's 0.62. Nevertheless, the show did continue its streak of finishing in first place for the evening on network TV in the key demographic. Meanwhile, AEW Rampage live on TNT later last Friday drew a total viewership of 394,000 according to WrestleNomics, down slightly from the 409,000 that tuned in for the previous week's episode. The rating for Rampage in the key demo was .10, down slightly from the .11 key demo of the previous week. In more AEW news, Fightful Select reported yesterday that the fan incident that occurred Sunday night at AEW Revolution, in which AEW World Champion MJF went into the crowd and splashed a child in the face with his mother's drink, was not a planned spot and resulted in some immediate fallout. The woman whose son was doused was reported to be very upset by the incident. Although initial reports indicated that it was a cup of water, Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer Radio stated that it was tequila in the cup. The mother and son were approached during the show by AEW employees, including Community Engagement Coordinator Amanda Huber, and eventually brought backstage to meet some of the wrestlers. Tony Khan addressed the incident during the post-Revolution press scrum while seated next to MJF, insisting that it was being taken seriously and that MJF had acted inappropriately. Although Khan declared that he had a serious conversation about the incident with MJF, the AEW champion appeared to be in character during the press scrum, continuing to make light of the situation and ridicule the young fan. Khan also revealed that the boy would be in attendance for AEW Dynamite tomorrow night in Sacramento. In more WWE-related news, UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier will be covering WrestleMania for ESPN, according to a statement made yesterday by Cormier in an interview with Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso. Cormier indicated that he would be traveling to Los Angeles to cover the event for ESPN. Cormier, reportedly a big wrestling fan, recently appeared for WWE as the special referee in the Fight Pit match between Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle at Extreme Rules last October. And turning to Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling held their 51st anniversary celebration on Monday with a card at the Ota City General Gymnasium. The main event featured the Dream Team of IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada teaming up with Hiroshi Tanahashi to challenge Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi for the IWGP World Tag Team title. The champions survived in their second defense after Yoshihashi pinned Tanahashi. The first round of the New Japan Cup also continued with two matches. Shota Umino defeated Yujiro Takahashi, and David Finlay beat Tomohiro Ishii. It was revealed during the match that the second-generation Finlay has now joined the Bullet Club faction. And in a heat-up for the upcoming IWGP World Junior Heavyweight title tilt between Hiromu Takahashi and Lio Rush, Rush partnered with Yo to defeat champion Takahashi and his teammate Bushi when Rush pinned Bushi. New Japan ran its first ever event in Ota City on March 6, 1972, and was founded by legendary pro wrestler Antonio Inoki, who passed away last October at the age of 79. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast, and remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.